Squidward accidentally paints a portrait of SpongeBob. An art dealer buys it instantly. She rejects his own work. She only wants more SpongeBob. He produces until he collapses. She surveys the wreckage and says, "I have once again overworked an artist. Again."
Dear, looks like I pushed another artist too hard.
She's done this before. It's not a cartoon. That's the content economy. The episode is called SpongeBob Model Pants, Season 15. Aired March 14th, 2025. Squidward creates one painting by accident.
My painting!
An art dealer named Peggy Gruperheim, named after the real-life art collector Peggy Guggenheim, buys it instantly. She rejects all of Squidward's self-portraits. She only wants SpongeBob paintings. More of the thing that performed. Squidward hides in trash cans, sneaks into SpongeBob's house at night, throws canvases at strangers, and eventually glues SpongeBob in a pose so he can produce faster. He makes painting after painting. Peggy buys them all. The money keeps coming. Then Squidward starts hallucinating SpongeBob's face everywhere.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
I'll paint you to oblivion!
Destroys his entire house and collapses. Peggy arrives with a truck of money, surveys the wreckage, and says she's overworked another artist. Then a garbage man picks up Squidward's last painting and crushes it in the truck.
Typical.
The painting was an accident. Squidward is painting a self-portrait in his yard. SpongeBob and Patrick are playing tag. SpongeBob crashes into the canvas. The self-portrait becomes a portrait of SpongeBob. Squidward throws it in the trash. 3 garbage men pull up, see it, and call it a masterpiece. Squidward dismisses them. "They're garbage people. Of course they like garbage." Then one of them says, "For your information, we all got art degrees from Whale University." That line is doing more work than you think. The people who recognize art aren't the buyers. They're the ones collecting the trash. The entire art economy of this episode runs that gap. An art dealer named Peggy Gruperheim pulls up in a yacht.
Who's responsible for this masterpiece?
She buys the SpongeBob painting on the spot.
I'll buy it.
You recognize my genius?
Squidward, thrilled, runs to show her his own work, his self-portraits, the thing he actually cares about. Peggy takes one look and says no. She doesn't want Squidward. She wants more of the thing that went viral. And here's where the episode becomes a horror movie. Squidward tries to paint SpongeBob from memory, but can't. He spent so long trying to forget SpongeBob exists that he's literally forgotten what he looks like. So he starts stalking him. He hides in a trash can in the Krusty Krab kitchen to paint him secretly. SpongeBob pours hot oil into the garbage and fries him.
I need a more direct approach.
He sneaks into SpongeBob's house at night with an easel, trying to capture him while he sleeps. He covers the entire bedroom in paint, but misses SpongeBob every time. He goes to Jellyfish Fields and throws canvases at everyone, accidentally hitting a stranger's children and getting beat up. He starts physically beating SpongeBob with a canvas to force his image onto it. Each attempt is more desperate than the last. Each one cost him more, and each one produces exactly what Peggy wants, another SpongeBob painting. The money keeps arriving, the demand never stops. Eventually, SpongeBob finds out he's the subject and volunteers to model. This should fix the problem, but it doesn't. SpongeBob can't sit still. He keeps changing poses. He leaves mid-session to criticize Squidward's technique. So Squidward glues him in place, literally immobilizes his muse so the content machine can keep running. The muse becomes the material, and the material has no say in how it's used. And then the collapse. Squidward paints and paints and paints. The output completely drains him. He starts seeing SpongeBob's face in everything. The walls, the furniture, the mirror, his own reflection. The content has consumed his entire field of vision. There's no separation between work and the rest of his life anymore. Every surface is a canvas. Every moment is a deadline. He goes mad and destroys every painting in his house. The house itself collapses around him. The art, the workspace, and the person making it all come down together. Peggy arrives with a truckload of cash. She sees the rubble. She sees Squidward in a full body cast, and her response is one sentence: "I have once again overworked an artist." She makes a phone call to mark up the prices on his remaining work. Then she leaves. A garbage man shows up, picks up Squidward's last painting, and crushes it in the truck. She said, "Once again." She's done this before. Squidward isn't her first artist. He's just her latest. The system doesn't care who it burns through. It just needs the next one. Now, let me tell you what happened in the real world the same month this episode aired. March 2025 to March 2026. In that 12-month window, the content economy broke. Jack Dorsey fired 40% of Block's workforce, roughly 4,000 people, and explicitly said AI tools meant a significantly smaller team can do more and do it better. The stock surged 24% overnight. Andrew Yang called it the highest percentage of layoffs in the history of the S&P 500. Dorsey predicted most companies would make the same cuts within a year. Microsoft's AI chief warned white-collar workers have a year to 18 months before widespread displacement. Meta is reportedly planning to cut 20% of its workforce to fund $135 billion in AI spending. Zuckerberg told employees that projects that used to require big teams can now be done by a single very talented person. Read that last line again. A single very talented person. That's Squidward. One artist, chained to the canvas, producing everything Peggy needs, while she sells the work and pockets the money. The team is gone. The infrastructure is gone. All that's left is one person and a deadline. And it's not just the corporate world. The creator economy is running the same playbook. Every YouTuber who got one viral hit knows the Peggy Grupperheim cycle. The algorithm rewarded one video, so now you make more of that video. Not a similar video, that video. The same format, the same thumbnail style, the same emotional beat. The thing you actually care about, your self-portrait, your passion project, your creative voice, gets rejected. The algorithm doesn't want you. It wants more of the thing that performed. So you make it, and you make it again, and you start losing sleep, and your mental health deteriorates, and you begin hallucinating the content in your daily life because you can't switch off, and the money keeps coming, and the demand never stops. Only 4% of Gen Z even aspires to reach the C-suite anymore. 57% say the 40-hour work week is not mentally healthy. They've seen what the machine does to the people inside it. When Mr. Beast talks about burnout, millions of people watch. When MatPat retired from game theory, the internet mourned. When Jacksepticeye stepped back, everyone understood. These are people who had everything the algorithm could give them: money, fame, reach, and they still broke. Because the machine doesn't have an off switch. It has a Peggy Grupperheim, and Peggy always needs more. Squidward's mistake wasn't making the first painting. The first painting was an accident, a beautiful, unplanned collision between his talent and SpongeBob's chaos. The mistake was letting someone else decide what it meant. The moment Peggy bought that painting, its value stopped being artistic and became commercial. The question stopped being, what does Squidward want to create? It became, what does Peggy want to buy? And from that moment on, every painting Squidward made was someone else's idea of his art. He was producing content, not creating it. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a career and a collapse. Creating is when the work comes from inside you. Producing is when the work is extracted from you. One fills you up, the other hollows you out. Squidward was hollow by the end, and Peggy was counting cash. That's what's happening in 2026. The creator who made one viral video and spent 3 years chasing it. The designer who got one big client and is now producing the same deliverable on loop. The writer who got one piece picked up and now only gets commissioned for that exact same piece again and again until they can't remember why they started writing in the first place. Every one of them is Squidward, gluing SpongeBob to a chair so the machine doesn't stop. And the system that runs the machine, it will always find another artist. Peggy said so herself. I have once again overworked an artist. Again, the word that turns a tragedy into a system. She's not sorry. She's not surprised. She's recalibrating, marking up the prices on the rubble, and calling the next name on her list. Peggy Gruberheim watched Squidward's house collapse and reached for her phone, not to call an ambulance, to mark up the price. That's not cruelty. That's quarterly earnings. The market doesn't mourn the artist it consumes. It just adjusts the price and moves on. At the end of the episode, Squidward is painting again, in a full body cast. Broken, bandaged, still creating. A garbage man picks up his painting and crushes it. Nobody even looks at what he made. And that's not the saddest part. The saddest part is that Squidward is smiling, because even after everything, he still loves the work. The system just made sure the work would never love him back. Tell me I'm wrong. Drop a comment. If you've ever made something you loved and watched the algorithm turn it into a quota, or if you know your own Peggy Gruberheim, I want to hear it. Hit like, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next one.